Me, let me talk about something which is closer to my heart.
Mm.
First of all, we are now into the fifth month of this pandemic?
Yeah,
Fifth
so
month, isn't it?
March, April, May, June, and now we're heading into July. July's now already.
Fifth month, right. Now, I mean, the mind boggles when you just think about that aspect
Yeah.
that a prehistoric, minute organism, right, has brought the whole planet to its knees.
Mm.
There is no international movement, very little. Some countries have tried to open that, and yet the cases for COVID 19 are going up virtually on a day to day basis.
Exponentially.
Right? Uh, as the situation today, uh, we in Victoria, Australia, we are concerned about 176 cases for the day, whereas in Florida, in USA, and I don't think Florida is any much bigger than Victoria. Might be more population, but again, not that much more, I would think. They have had what, 52,000 cases for one day. 52,000 cases. And we here in Victoria have 170 odd cases. Yet the concern and alarm that Victoria has caused in Australia appears to be more than the alarm which 52,000 cases are doing in Florida. Uh, Yet it is a virus which is completely out of control, except by the sounds of it, by what we gauge from the media, there seem to be less deaths. I don't know whether that's the truth or not.
Mm.
There seem to be less people dying. So, generally, what initially started off as a fear of death 5 months ago doesn't seem to be that intense now anymore.
Yeah, well, even
It's
the
just
case
another
that we
virus.
had yesterday,
Yes,
the old man that passed away,
that's right.
um, he passed away of COVID, but he was in stage 3 cancer and ready to pass away any second
That's
anyway.
right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So, what I'm trying to say is that it has brought the whole world into turmoil anyway.
Mm.
Whatever the whatever the intensity is anywhere in the world, it has still brought the whole world to its knees. Which means, and the other thing, of course, which impacts on that is livelihoods. The literally millions of people who are losing their jobs, and how governments are trying to keep the economy buoyant by just dishing out a lot of money to a lot of people. Um, Gurbani talks about this life being an illusion. When you look at all that, it really feels like an illusion. If you can't solve a problem, throw money at it. Uh, Yet it continues. That sort of illusion continues. And I think the reason why, as Sikhs, we understand that a little better because we don't look upon it as something unreal. We know for a fact that that's the way it is. This is an illusion. That this life is transitory. In this lifetime, we are controlled by three factors. We are controlled by time, space, and form. Time is linear. What's happening right now, something else will happen tomorrow. Today is going to go, and tomorrow is going to be another day. It moves on. You cannot, you can make all the movies you like about Back to the Future and all that. The fact remains that you cannot bring back time. It moves in one direction. So we are prisoners to time as human beings, right? What is beyond this human life, we don't know whether it's controlled by time or not. Here, time is very powerful. But in another form of existence, I would even say life, would time play that much of an impact on you? Because you have stories of, somebody, the such and such warriors, they live for centuries because they go through all these centuries trying to do good and all that. But they are stories. But is there something beyond all this? We do not know. Because at the moment, we are completely focused on what's happening in this pandemic. We are not out of it. We are right in the middle of it. And we are prisoners to it through time, through this pandemic. Second is form, this physical form. This physical form is also controlled by time. You are born, and then you lead your life, and then this life form comes to an end. That means you want to make the most of this life. You want to make the most of this life. But yet, you want to keep an eye on what could be beyond this, because that is what meditation is all about, really. Form, space. Where the mind is concerned, the physically, for example, you want to yearn to go and matha take at Darbar Sahib. Physically, we can't do it. So you're controlled, your form is controlled in that sense, you're sitting here. But amazingly enough, yet, where your mind is concerned, you can close your eyes and you can get to Darbar Sahib and you can go and matha take. Right? So, I don't know what I'm talking about now.
Sorry, I can cut that. But
Yeah.
I think that the key for that now is then, like for us, our focus has obviously been through Sewa. The Sikhs have got through this part all over the world.
Yes.
There's Sikhs just, instead of sitting at home worrying about it, you can sit there and cut onions and then send it off to the Gurdwara so they can make langar and serve the people. And how do you get that message out to the mass media? How do they like,
Well,
for the limited
all right.
mind, how do you make the most of a situation like this?
One of the questions we raise ourselves as we are growing up is, why am I a Sikh? Those justifications are very important, because just because you're born a Sikh does not mean you have to continue the rest of your life as a Sikh, because you can make a choice. So I have always made it a point that at certain points of my life, in fact, virtually on a daily basis, I question myself, why am I a Sikh? Why am I imprisoned by having long hair, turbaned, bearded, wearing a kada, wearing a kashera? Why do I conform to being a Sikh? And very strange thing is, I have got my experiences through my life now. And there have been points in my life when I had to justify why I am a Sikh. Why am I perhaps not some other religion? I won't mention any names. But what happens is, then you start studying other religions and the attributes that they have, and then you compare them with your own. At the age of 70, with this pandemic, it gives me greater justification for the fact that I was born a Sikh and I wanted to lead a Sikh life. This pandemic has helped me. Why? I tell you why. There are a number of factors. First of all, maybe I do not have news about other communities or religious groups as strongly as I have about Sikhs. But it's amazing, the news that I get from around the globe is how the Sikhs have galvanized themselves. And under circumstances of great adversity, the Sikhs are the ones who are out there doing service. The Sikhs are the one out there serving langar. Gurdwaras are still active in making langar. Uh, People are still active in sending raw materials to the gurdwara so that langar can be made, and then langar can be served out to the other communities. Um, in a small way, we do our own bit as well, but to sit back to think, we have not let this setback of the pandemic slow us down from what we are meant to do as Sikhs, which is to be out there serving the rest of the world. For a minority, this is a very big thing. But globally, it seems to be a natural part of the DNA of a Sikh to get up and do something about it.
Do you think that's what's also helping them with the coping mechanism? Because when you're down and out, we have this inbuilt ability to do seva, which
Yes.
then helps you mentally cope with a situation like this pandemic.
Yes, there is no doubt about that. I mean, this is when you realize what terms like Chardi Kala means. Chardi Kala, to always be in a state of optimism. You can only be in a state of optimism if you are in a position where you can provide service. A Sikh would much rather be in a position to provide service than to receive service. And I think that adds to that positivity and is also a coping mechanism where this pandemic is concerned.
So for those, I mean, we obviously have no desire for more people becoming Sikhs or
No,
anything
no, no,
like
no,
that.
no, not at all.
But for other people that aren't Sikhs, what truly is Seva, and how do they then put it into their own lives that's going to help them? I mean, we know the benefits of being able to do Seva, but really then what is Seva for the everyday Joe Blow, and how's that going to then impact and help them moving forward through this pandemic?
Seva, I mean, it can be described very simply as service, but Seva is much more than that. First of all, Seva engenders humility. But it can only engender humility that when you're doing service, you're grateful for the fact that you can do service.
Yeah.
I think that is tremendous empowerment, that I can do service. I can help a fellow human being. That's a very powerful aphrodisiac towards positivity. So that is one coping mechanism that we have. And then when you have a group of people who are prepared to do that, and you are part of that collective group, there is a sense of well-being being part of that group.
Yeah.
So even if calamity strikes you, you know that you are in a particular group which is always there to help other people.
Which comes back to the Sangat, right? We have a very
Yes.
strong emphasis on Sangat,
Yes.
which is
Sangat is the right company that you keep. In other words, if you want to lead a successful life, for example, you make it a point to mingle with successful people. You know, that's what self-improvement courses and all will tell you. But Sangat is where you want to meet up with people who are there to do good. They are always there in a positive frame of mind to see now how can we be of service to other people. So it is not just a Sikh thing. It is for anyone to, I mean, I've known a lot of non-Sikhs now, for example, who have joined the Sikh community, not as Sikhs, but as non-Sikhs, but to be of service towards others. And the great thing is that we already have this in a formalized form, like two of the institutions which come to mind global are United Sikhs and Khalsa Aid. There are a lot of non-Sikh members now who have joined these organizations to go out there and to be of service. Generally, when we have charity organizations, I won't again name names, that charity organizations again have hierarchies, and where they have their operating officers and financial officers and all that, who get very nice, beautiful salaries for what they're doing. And you'll be lucky that if you make a contribution towards those charities, you're lucky if 20-25% of what you give to those charities actually goes to the end. And I'm being as positive as I can on this. But when it comes to organizations like Khalsa Aid and United Sikhs, there is minimum overheads where they're concerned, because all the people who are running these charities are doing it as service. They have got other jobs, and they help each other. They are, for example, if you need a team of people to go out to anyway, Timbuktu or India somewhere, to go and do some work amongst the people who are being afflicted by whatever is happening there, they do need the expenses to get there. But they are not paid a regular salary to do that sort of thing. They go out there, and most of the contributions that are made go directly to where they are needed. That is the kind of seva that we talk about. Langar is a great example. Someone the other day was trying to say, oh, Langar is not, it is not a Sikh institution. Langar has always been there. Somebody gave me an example that in the Crimean War, for example, the way they used to feed a whole village is these guys used to go into the square, in the village square, and say, right, tonight the whole meal is on us. Now what we suggest you do is, whatever little bits of and pieces of food that you have, bring it to the village square, and then we will cook together and we will eat as a community. Potluck. They used to do that sort of thing, you see. But I think Sikhs have taken it one step beyond that, where the moment, it's in the DNA of a Sikh, the moment Langar is mentioned, the first thought is, I have to contribute towards it. Not go there and eat, but I have to contribute towards it. So out of nowhere, these supplies start coming to one central spot where food can be made and it can help to feed thousands. Now that concept of Langar comes under the heading of Sewa, because it's in the DNA that I want to be of service in whatever way I can. And the first thing is to be able to feed others. And then, of course, you have people who then collect clothes and all that, second-hand hand-me-downs, so that they can go to something which is to somebody who needs it. There are people, for example, who will collect items to go and give it to refugees who have come to the countries, because they know that those are the people who need all these items. So that positivity is something which helps us through difficult periods. And the other thing which has happened, which to me is like a phenomenon, is, I think we were just discussing the amount of kirtan which has now appeared on internet, on chat lines. I mean, it's amazing. We can tune in, for example, in Australia, I know my daughter, Asadiwar, for example, starts at 5 o'clock in the morning, but the Asadiwar in Malaysia, of course, starts at 5, while here it is about 7 o'clock. So I've actually known our youngsters who actually tune into Asadiwar in Malaysia so that they can listen to it at 7 o'clock in the morning. Besides that, the amount of kirtan which is on YouTube now, which you can tap into and which comes on chat lines, is quite phenomenal. Things which at one time appeared to be out of reach are now within reach. The reason why we have a problem with our youngsters going to gurdwaras, for example, simply because a lot of rituals which the gurus tried to eliminate have slowly crept back into the gurdwaras.
Why do you reckon that is?
You need rituals to collect money. Gurdwaras have to make money. So you must have your khand parts and your sahaj parts and your kirtan sessions and other jodmilas, vagara, so that the revenue keeps coming in, and that's very important.
Residual incomes.
So rituals are very important. But now, strangely enough, as the gurdwaras are finding that they cannot get people to come to the gurdwara, they have now started channeling their kirtan and their services
Oh.
online. I mean, we hope and pray that the gurdwaras will keep going because they are very important institutions to us. But what has happened is for those who used to sit back at home and not go to the gurdwara, they are now actually tapping into gurdwaras because even at home they are imprisoned. They cannot go out because of the pandemic. They have to sit at home. So, oh well, while we are sitting at home, we might as well listen to Nithanem in the morning. Nithanem starts at about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. That's too hard. Now, there must be a country where it starts a little bit later so that I can do my Nithanem at 7 or 8 o'clock. Hey, we want comfort, isn't it? So there are youngsters who are actually tapping into Malaysia so that we can hear our Nithanem a little bit later. But the fact is that they are doing it.
I guess it's also like with you doing rehras, you do it at 6 o'clock, and then we were doing it on Facebook Live, and people were listening to their rehras at 3 o'clock in the afternoon
That's
or
right.
1 o'clock in the afternoon.
It doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Simply because, in that sense, that's another reason why I started in the beginning by saying, why am I a Sikh? It doesn't matter whether you hear the rehras at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 7 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter. Because 24 hours of the day, even where our kirtan is concerned, we have a lot of debates. I mean, being in the kirtan, Guru Sangeet business, so to speak, myself, for a very long time. There's always been this criticism, oh, he sang this particular rag at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when it's actually a morning Sverda rag, 3 o'clock in the morning. But the general advice given to in Sikhi is, don't worry what time it is. Just do it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's no such thing as today is a bad day to do this. Guru Nanak, for example, is reported to have cooked venison on a particular day when it's completely against the Hindu faith to cook meat. On that particular auspicious occasion, on that particular day, you must not consume meat. And it was on that particular day that Guru Nanak actually is reported to have actually cooked venison to eat, just to make a point. And the point being that there is no such thing as a time which is not right for us.
And this pandemic and the involvement in all the social media and stuff has just made that so much more applicable, because it's always some time at some place somewhere around the world, isn't it?
Somebody's doing it.
Yeah.
Somebody's doing it, and
It's
you
the
just
right
follow
time
it.
somewhere.
Exactly, that's right. And the other thing which, from a Sikh perspective, this is so important, is that now Kirtan itself and the communication between Sikhs truly has become global. We are now a global community,
Yeah.
right? I don't like to say this, but we live in different countries, all right? I would suggest that maybe 70% of the Sikhs live in India, and maybe 30% lives outside India now. And believe you me, more and more Sikhs are leaving India and living in other countries.
Yeah.
There's migration between countries as well. There are Sikhs from UK, for example, who are now migrating to Australia. We have all that. But as a community, we are a global community without really a center of our own. Because let's face it, even where Akal Takht is concerned, the edicts coming out of Akal Takht, they are not applicable to our lives for the rest of the world, right? But as a community, we need to keep together. This pandemic has helped us not only to have global kirtan, but it has also allowed us to have a global communication between all Sikhs.
And a global presence, I think.
And a global presence. Global presence is becoming even stronger because on a day-to-day, I mean, now even our channels are actually portraying Sikhs because they have gone out and served meals during the fires, which happened just before this pandemic. And that service has been ongoing into the pandemic as well. We had those towers locked down in Melbourne, the 7 towers which were locked down. The Sikhs went there and they were actually serving langar at the towers.
Yeah, and which was so much more culturally appropriate as well, food for the palate of the people that were there, because a lot of them are refugees from all around the world.
And vegetarian food can be eaten by everyone.
Everybody, yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to survive, you can survive without meat as long as you have something to eat. So vegetarian food is being served out to the rest of the world as well. So as I said in the beginning, it makes me feel proud that I belong to a community which is always outward looking, which is optimistic, which has this concept of Chardi Kala and this concept of being of service to the rest of the world. And we are actually showing our true colors at this point in time. So 2020 for us, for Sikhs, I think is a very, very important and pivotal year for the Sikhs globally to come together as a community and be of service to everyone around them, not only to themselves, but most importantly, to the community at large. And for that, we have drawn criticism from our own people, where there are those who will say, come on, as Sikhs, we should first of all serve Sikhs. We must make ours, look for our Sikhs to serve them. The point is, we have never ever stopped being of service to Sikhs as well. We serve each other, but we will not stop there. The important thing is, we will be of service to anyone who needs our assistance. And that is why being a Sikh, I think, is so important.
I think we've had a fair few questions emailed through to us over the last few weeks to you directly, Dad, asking about meditation, about how to survive, what to do. And I think that's really important, that there is so many places where people can go to just, this is a time for reflection, and this is a time to reevaluate where you are in your life. And I think if people just know that they can reach out, and it's okay to reach out, and I guess that's what your Sewa is to be able to keep spreading that message of love and compassion and unity, and for people to be able to come together in such forums. So if people want to keep that ball and that momentum coming, please send us in comments, send us in questions, email us. We're at contact@dyasingh.com, and we can answer more questions and do more things like this. I guess that's the advantage of what media has done, and this communication channel has opened for us.
Well, having reached 70 years of age, deep down at the back of my mind, I know that for me to now keep traveling the globe is getting out of the question.
But Dad, I want to see the rest of the world.
I've seen whatever world I wanted to see. What I think has happened is, with this advent of communication online, I'm now in a position where I can sit at home and give such answers. And the answers I give may not be what is being practiced in Sikhism or in the Gurdwaras. It is my collective knowledge that I have gained over 70 years, and being brought up in a very practical fashion as a youngster. Now I had reached the stage where I have disillusionment going to Gurdwaras for the services there, because I don't seem to benefit spiritually from those services. The only benefit I get is Sangat and to be able to eat good langar. Even the kirtan these days that you get in Gurdwaras is not of a spiritual nature as such. Don't get me wrong, I myself have done a lot of entertainment kirtan in my life. But it seems to be there's more and more entertainment kirtan in Gurdwaras, rather than the sort of true search for kirtan. What really is kirtan? I was asked that question. The other side, like as I said, I've got this young man from UK at the moment who got in touch with me. He's working for some opera house in London, and he's done his studies in music in the London School of Music. And now it has come to the point where he wants to know more about kirtan. What is kirtan? And I was pleasantly surprised that he got in touch with me, simply because there's a formal way to learn kirtan. That's what you're getting in Gurdwaras now. You get the 2 harmoniums and 1 tabla. That's it. I call it popcorn kirtan, because the tabla player will insist that 2 mics must be put on his tabla, so that his tabla is heard very nicely. The rest of all doesn't matter. Harmoniums are barely heard at all. The voices are heard, or you hear the tabla. So it's a very discordant kind of kirtan which is going on in Gurdwaras at the moment. That is my personal view. So to understand genuine kirtan, there are so many venues now. For example, on YouTube, uh, the one that springs to mind is Bhai Baldeep Singh, for example. Bhai Baldeep Singh, who comes from this, his background is Bhai Avtar Singh, Bhai, I can't remember, Bhai Avtar Singh, Bhai Gurcharan Singh. Those are the Ragi Jathas. They come from 16 generations, 17 generations of Ragis. To go back and actually understand genuine Kirtan is so important. And YouTube now allows each individual to come do one's own research into Kirtan, because Kirtan should be a form of meditation. I was asked about Simran. Kirtan should be Simran. Kirtan and Simran go hand in hand. Kirtan and Simran should lead you towards Nam. They are subsidiaries to lead you towards Nam. So to be able to understand those aspects, sometimes you got to sit back and reflect on things like that. It's got to be experiential. You can read about it until the cows come home. Even I have written a book, nice book. Even I read it sometimes, and I'm surprised at what I have written. But the point is that personal search inwards goes on a day-to-day basis. And really, this pandemic is an amazing opportunity to reach inwards, to do the research in your own experiential sort of fashion, where you sit back and you feel about things. You think about them and then you start feeling. Because we have not even been able to differentiate between thinking and feeling, man and mat. It's so important to be able to differentiate the two, because if you can sit back and observe the thinker within you, if you can sit back and observe the thinker within you, you are giving yourself a greater sense of awareness. Just think about it. To become the observer of the thinker within you, that gives you a greater sense of awareness. Because thinking is just one of the faculties of the body. But what is that behind the thinking? That behind the thinking is that observer, which is, I don't know, you go into a realm where you talk of the soul, or the silent observer within you. You talk of the silent observer, you talk of the spirit within you. Some people try and differentiate between those things as well. Spirit, soul, silent observer, the inner child. But really, that's the sort of realm that you're talking about, which you want to get into, so that you become the observer behind the thinker which is within you. Those are the meditational aspects which one needs to experience as time goes on, so that you can perhaps understand your being a little bit better. This pandemic has given us that opportunity to be able to go into timelessness within time. Time is moving. 5 months have moved. I don't know, I have a feeling the whole of 2020 is going to be taken up with this pandemic. That's the sensation that I get. So 2020 is written off as something, time is money, time is precious. No, don't worry about it. 2020 is wiped out. Use that 2020 as a period of timelessness, where you start experiencing your own inner self. That is what this pandemic has given us. And I look upon it as a boon. At the age of 70, to be able to be given this opportunity of sitting back and not worrying what time I'm going to get up tomorrow morning, what time I'm going to sleep. My 24 hours becomes one, so that I can experience timelessness, to be able to step out of time. This is what this pandemic is all about. And as a Sikh, if you can be out there doing some kind of service, that's happening anyway. It's just a joy, just listening to the stories of Sikhs going out and serving the rest of the mainstream community out there is such a joy. And I am grateful to the powers around us, to the source of all reality, for giving me the life of a Sikh in this particular human lifetime.
And I guess everybody's a Sikh. To seek means to learn.
Sikh means to learn.
S-W-K.
That's right. That's right. And when I think of Sikhs, I also just remembered Guru Ka Singh, who has just retired from sicknet.com. Sad, yes, but then again, we must respect the onslaught of time. Um,
He
what
sounded
is-
very excited though.
he's very excited because he's going to be doing other things. He's freed himself of one thing and starting to do other things. To a certain degree, it's like me where I have freed myself of touring as a Gursangeetkar, but it gives me the time and the opportunity of sitting back and just reflecting on my life and being of service towards those who think I could be of benefit to them in terms of what I can impart, whatever knowledge I can impart to them, the experiences that I have gained over the 70 years of my life.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dad.
Thank you both.